Hello. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Digital Artifacts. My name is Ryan Selvy, and this is the show where we're going to take some physical objects and digitize them, bring new life to them, and find ways to restore them, recolor them, reimagine them, all in Photoshop and Illustrator. My name's Ryan Selvy. I am a Brooklyn-based artist. I do motion graphics and illustration. And this idea came to me recently because my aunt, my great aunt, passed away, and suddenly we were able to see all of these physical things that I didn't really even know existed, but they suddenly became very prevalent to and aware for me that the fact that, like, had a flood happened or a fire happened, all of this stuff is just not on the internet. It is all just in and of itself in the physical world. And I feel like a lot of people have these things that are all very important to them, and also, you know, are just so vulnerable to being destroyed or forgotten. So I thought this would be a really great opportunity to create a show where we take things, both in my life and in your life, and we learn about the things that mean so much to so many people, and we find ways to bring them a second life. And we also immortalize them in the idea of having it on the digital backup, so that if anything were to ever unfortunately happen to these physical objects, at least they were scanned, at least they were documented, at least they were reimagined. So with that being said, we have a few for today that we can go through, but I am really turning it to friends, family, viewers, anyone who sees this and says, hey, I have something that I would at least like to imagine restoring, or maybe just like having a second look at. So I would really love to hear from you. You can reach out to me either on Instagram or on Blue Sky. You can also hit me up on Gmail. It's just ryanselvy@gmail.com. But I am excited to learn more about people, and then also have the opportunity to set up these changes to these creations. So hello to everyone, and it is great to hop right into stuff. The first thing that we're going to hop into is a picture of my great-grandfather and his wife, but at the time this was taken, it was actually, they were not married, they were just dating. This is a picture from the late 30s, and believe it or not, this is not their wedding. The reason that I know that is because this is actually their wedding, and you can see that it is a whole different outfit, whole different, veil and everything. I guess just in the 30s, you had parties and you dressed like you were getting married. So with that to say, there's a few things here. I went ahead and I scanned it. I actually have the physical version somewhere around here, and I am interested to bring life into it through a few different ways. So looking at it right now, you can see I scanned it in 300 DPI. I could probably even do more if I wanted to. It has some stuff going on here with some like blips, some dust, and some scratches or what have you, which we can adjust. But one of the easiest things we can do probably to at least start things off is go and just crop it out. So you can use the crop tool by using C, and you can just bring it over here. And woo, step one, we already have it digitized in a way that is, a little bit nicer looking. You can always bring it in a little bit more. If there's like a little small area for it, you can always just go to image canvas size, and from there you'll be able to edit. One thing is you can anchor an area, so you can go to the left center, and I can say that I just want it to be like maybe like 80 rather than that. It'll give me a little thing of like, hey, you're about to crop this. I'm like, yeah, I know it. Also, Anna's saying, yeah, it could just be a really fancy date. Oliver's also saying, I have loads of old photos that I want to digitize in case something happens, but struggling with negatives in weird formats. Yes, which is all part of it. Bruce is saying that he sees a resemblance, which, yeah, I can kind of see a very vague one between me and my grandfather. I mean, not so much, I don't know, with my great-grandmother, but needless to say. So one of the coolest things that you can do that is really fast is you can go over to filter and go into your neural filters. Now, neural filters uses all on system processing. So this is artificial intelligence that does not leave your computer. You can just go right over to either photo restoration or colorize. I think it would be best to probably just start with photo restoration. The one thing about photo restoration, just like anything else with AI use, is that you need to be super hyper aware that the computer is not all knowing. It's not revealing things that are there that you can't see. It is just making its best guess. So in the case of digitizing these things, it's also very important to remember that, like, even if we're doing our best case, we are also still modifying and editing a historical documentation. So like this has enhanced face, but it's pumped up pretty high, and I don't want it to be that high because it kind of adds new faces. So I'm gonna go and actually bring this slider down to 28 or so. And you can always go down to this little show original box, and you can kind of cycle between the two to see if it feels like it's still authentic. Looking at it, I feel pretty prominent or pretty strong over the idea that it's at least still their faces. You can go into things like scratch reduction, but I think that's when it tends to get kind of a little goofy, especially with like faces or different areas. You can always zoom in and zoom out using Control, minus, or plus. And actually, I know I just said I normally don't use scratch reduction, but if we're looking between the two, this actually does a pretty good job. Oliver says, enhance, enhance. Clever says, oh, Oliver, it will explode. So I'm already feeling pretty good, actually, about this this photo, but I would love to see it actually just colorized. So there is also a colorize neuro filter. So I'm going to go in and turn that on. It's going to do its best job to kind of figure out what's going on here. Like I said, I don't know the full story behind this photo, so I actually don't know what color the dress is. But you can see that maybe her veil probably was not this red or pink. So we have auto color image on already, but a cool thing that you can do is when you hover over top of the image, you can see that you can click into the veil, and it will give me a color picker prompt, and I can dictate what I want that area to be. So I'm clicking that part of the veil, which is over here, and it's going to turn white, and it's going to update it accordingly. You can change the strength, and you can also adjust the color even after you've done it, and you can do as many as you want. So you can see a dot is now here representing that that is white, but I also see it over here, so I'm going to click, and we're going to change this guy to white as well, and then maybe up here potentially, and then suddenly it's starting to feel a little bit more closer to what it was. You can still drag things around. I mean, do you think this is a pink dress, or do you think this is a white dress? I'm not entirely sure. I just also can't imagine wearing a veil if you're not getting married, which is crazy. Bruce said, did they use actual paint this particular photo? They did that back then, right? I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's paint. Actually, if I run over, I can grab the original one right now. It's just like I don't know. I wanted to find out what kind of film it was, but I don't necessarily know. I mean, it seems like it's the original, right? Because it like has stuff on the back of it. And I'm glad I have this scan now, because I'm always worried that something's going to happen, like a weird flood or something. But it doesn't seem to have paint on it, unless, they were also good back then, so I don't know. The other thing interesting about this, it's from the late 30s, because their wedding was in the early 40s. And interesting thing about my great-grandfather is that he was a violinist, he was a pharmacist, and he also ended up writing a book about engines to train the pilots in World War II. And so that's how he kind of didn't end up going to war, because he ended up writing. When he was 15, he got a acceptance to the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra for his violin, and I don't think he actually ended up going with it, because he ended up opening his pharmacy instead. See, that's cool that we can change that to red. And so he instead opened up pharmacies and went in that direction. But the interesting thing about it is, years later, decades later, he ended up giving his violin to my sister, and he, growing up, had perfect pitch. And so whenever he would come over, he would then try to tune said violin. But his hearing was going because he was an older man at that point. And so he was actually messing it up, which is kind of a funny story. But very nice guy. We used to always give him, or he used to give us, per se, actually. I don't know if I like that brown. I don't know. Let's continue going and see if I want to switch it up. But he would always give us M&Ms every single time he came over. And when we ended up burying him, we ended up putting M&Ms in his pocket as like a little thank you, goodbye, which I will always remember. And I always kind of like, with my nephews, I always kind of want to have that, I don't know, trademark, I guess. I don't know how I feel about these guys, so we're going to actually remove them. I don't know if I like the thing either. Also, I want to show you guys a few other tricks that you can do to get rid of like some stain spots or some dusts and scratches, and different tips and tricks to bring life into these photos that we have. Also, I have videos for the other works that we're going to be working on. The one thing I also want to switch up here is her flowers. Like, what are those? Do you think they're just a green something? I feel like they should be a little bit more lively in a way. But then does it just look like she's like holding celery? Also, her face is turning a little white, so I want to add a little bit. Turned her into Shrek. I'm going to go in, and I'm just using the color picker up here. It's just going on my other monitor. And I'd like to just add a little bit more color. We can bring up the strength a little bit. Just, you know, we're a pale family, but, you know, maybe we rewrite history and make us all tan. I'm going to go ahead and actually like reflect that color change across all of the areas we have some skin tone, just so that there's a little bit more consistency. But I'm feeling pretty good with the neural filters here at this point. I might change this to white just because we don't know what that color is, and it feels like it's trying to fight us. Yeah, I like that a lot more. Although it's adjusting his ear a little bit now. So let's go and add that color a little bit more to that area. And see, this is all taking like seconds. Like, this is all things you can do at bulk with a bunch of pictures if you want, which is nice. You know, you don't have to. I'm going to change my output to a smart filter. That way we can adjust it more if we need to. And look at that. That's pretty cool. Now, like I said, there are probably some areas, like it looks like there is a little smudge here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate. Probably you don't have to because it's not going to be destructive when we do generative fill. But just going in here and highlighting some areas. The bouquet of celery, maybe it was a chic trend back then. You know, maybe like that, or she got ripped off or something. Because like I said, when we look at the other one, like there were flowers. Flowers were a thing at a point. But this was late 30s. You know, the world wasn't super economic at that point. That's the other thing about my grandfather. Since he lived through the Great Depression, he did not trust banks. And so when he died and we were going through his home, he had a bunch of like cash just hidden everywhere. And to this day, we always joke about how we probably, to some extent, threw away thousands of dollars because we probably did not find something like in a cushion somewhere or in an area where we would otherwise not think to hide money. But when you live through the Great Depression, I guess it makes sense. So I just went through and I just highlighted all the little areas, and I'm just going to hit generative fill. In the past, we would use maybe the stamp tool, the patch tool, 100 other tools that you can use in the event that I guess generative fill does not work. But more and more I'm learning that it's just it's the best way to go forward with it. So, oh, we got one more over here. This is kind of a weird one. And we could do generative fill for this, but I know I just mentioned a bunch of other tools, so I just want to show you guys some other stuff we can do. I'm going to click on this layer, and I hit the patch tool. And what the patch tool does is it references another area. It's going to rasterize it because it's destructive, but you can see I just click and drag, and now it appears as if nothing was there. You can do the same over here. Click and drag. Go here. Click. Drag. There's also some other ones where you click into the patch tool. You could do the remove tool. Deselect everything. I'm just going to click that. It does its little work on system. You'll also see that I have it still loading, so that way you don't have to wait for it to do it every single time. So it's still in red, but then I just click the little check mark, and then it will do the work for me. Maybe some of these guys. Maybe this guy and that guy. Apurva says, as I remember from Family Tales, people used to get married and then go to the studio to get their photo albums. Yeah, but this wasn't even... But this isn't like I have the wedding photo. It's a different day, which is so strange. So I don't know. I have to figure out more about this story. But oh, there's some stains down here. Now, there's a few things we can do with stains. We can either do the same thing where we highlight. Let's see what this even looks like. Let's do a highlight. And we'll click check. And that actually did pretty well. The other thing that I was going to do is maybe use the dodge tool or the burn tool to kind of neutralize it. But for the most part, I think that's pretty strong. So there you go, guys. There's a little bit of Ryan Selvy history for you. That is where I came from. At least one half. You know? Now, I would love to hop into some other stuff that's not just me. And we have a wonderful video from my friend Alli, and she'll talk a little bit about what we're working on for her. So here you go.
Hi, my name is Alli. So when I was probably 26 years old or so, I was moving out of my parents' house, my childhood home. I was moving to New York. And as I was cleaning out my bedroom, I came across this note that I had written for myself when I was 14 years old, for myself the next summer at sleepaway camp. The note, while it's very funny, written in pink gel pen, is actually like kind of serious and really relevant to a lot of the things I had been going through in my life at the time. It talks about, like having a hard time. I pumped myself up a little bit, told myself I was doing an awesome job. And it's a kind of thing that I have held on to for the last 7 years or so. And every time I'm feeling a little bit down about myself, like just stuck in my head, self-doubting, I pull it out and I read it, because there's nothing like a 14-year-old version of yourself to pump yourself up.
All right, so let's check out this letter that we have from her. She came over and we scanned 2 of them. Well, not 2 of them. It's actually the same one, but it's double-sided. And the way that I actually ended up scanning this one was with this new fun scanner that I have. Let's see if I'll show you guys here. I have a flatbed scanner, which is how I scanned that first one, but I ended up using this iScan wand portable scanner for this one because I didn't want the light from the back to pop through.
Hi, my name.
That's enough, Alli. We don't need to hear you twice. We ended up using this because I didn't want to have this back text show up even more than it already was. And so now we have this nice write-up from Alli, and let's go through here. So, first thing says, it's from August 17th, 2005. And it says, Dear Alli, by the time you read this, you will probably be in the Tusk, which I think is another cabin that she's talking about, because this is all at a summer camp, or older. I don't know if you remember, but I wrote this letter to myself in 2005. Right now, I am sitting in AK's mini cabin. I asked her if she knew who AK was. She could not remember. With the girls from S4 and S5. We're supposed to write about our past summers, this summer, and our goals for next summer. We are also supposed to write about things we want to change about ourselves. There have always been things that I have wanted to change about myself. I could think of about a million things right now, but none would be worthwhile for me to read about whenever I get around to reading this. Who really wants to remind themselves about their bad qualities? I just want to give myself some credit. I went through a lot this year. It was probably the toughest year of my life. At times, I didn't think that I could make it. I came close to breaking down many times. I pulled through, though. Remember that not many people could do what you did. Keep up what you did, because I promise it will get easier. People look up to you. If I was 12 years old, I would look up to you. Now that I think about it, I am an amazing person. This letter really made me realize that. Remember to have faith in yourself. Never change. Isn't it amazing what you can learn from yourself? From Alli. Which I think is really strong and really powerful. I want to find a way. Now we obviously have it nice and scanned. You can see the tabletop that I ended up scanning on top, which is there. And it's also a little bit offside. So one of the tools that Photoshop has that can help with this is you can go to the crop tool, and if you click on it, you can go to perspective crop tool. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click the four corners of the note. So click here, click here, click here, and then I'm going to go up to the top and click here. And it's going to then allow me to press OK. And from that, we then have it adjusted so it is at least a section where it is 90-degree angles. 90-degree angles. Also, Jess says, oh my gosh, what a letter, right? And I feel like a lot of people have these things. So it's important to be able to not only take the words and remember the words, but I also think that there's a lot to be said with the actual handwriting. So we want to make sure that we find a way to bring life to this, but at the same time, we want to still keep a lot of what is there, which I have an idea about. But first, the first thing I want to get through is just making sure that we can make sure this is scanned properly and all lined up accordingly. You can turn the grid on and off if you would like, but I think it's getting pretty close. You can zoom in, zoom out, make sure that things are lining up. We can see here a bit that these lines actually are not aligning with the paper itself, so I might want to just make sure that I bring that other side down a little bit. And when I end up cropping that one now, we'll see there's a little bit of extra space on the sides. There's also this small area. What we can do, like I said, we are editing history a bit here, but if you go to select, modify, expand, I'm just going to expand it by like 3 pixels, and you can do a generative fill here. It's going to then just add in that area for us. But what we really want to do is we want to rip the words from this page so that maybe we can apply it to something else. Now, what I would personally really like to do is maybe come up with a piece of a design that maybe we can make for Alli that she can put in her wallet or something. So maybe we make like a business card, I was thinking, that just takes a little excerpt from this letter and gives it to her so that she can then always have at least a part of it. And the part that I really like about it is the remember to have faith in yourself, never change. Isn't it amazing what you can learn from yourself, from Alli? So we have this kind of nice and cropped down now. It is, the perspective is right, but I want to pull the type out from what we have. So fortunately, I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Control J. We're going to go over to select and color range. And this brings up this new dialog box where we can see all of an area that we want to modify. Now, Bruce is asking, what format can the iScanner scan in? It can scan in both, I think, a JPEG and a PDF, and it is in the A4 size, so it's always going to come out to a paper size dimension, but you can always crop them together. You can scan, I think, up to 300 DPI, I believe, and it also does medium and small if you'd like. Runs off 2 AA batteries, can scan... it says 2 AA batteries can scan above 200 pages. And yeah, it comes in JPEG and PDF, high resolution. It's 900 DPI, not even 300. And it's extremely portable, it says. So you can see here that it's actually already pretty good at pulling out what it is. And guess what, guys? A little bit of magic is the fact that I was testing this before we went live. But I want to reset it so that you guys can see what's going on here. If we go and click anywhere and we have none, you can see that we have access to the full document. And so I want to say that I want to bring out just the pinks here, because the pink gel pen, which Alli used, is the section that we want to take out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and make sure that select is sample colors. I want to do like 3x3 average. You can switch it up. Point sample is going to be a lot smaller. 5x5 might be a little too much. And basically, it's just saying it's going to take the average of whatever I'm going to give it. And so I'm going to just very generally select a part of the pink area. And you can see in our preview menu here that it's going to show me all the areas in white that it has selected. You can see that on the bottom, it has a little bit of fade off. So what I want to do instead is go to my selection preview and go to grayscale. And we can see already that it's looking a little bit fuzzy and groggy. What you can do in this dialog menu is there is a area to increase the amount of sampling that you have. So I'm going to click on this area, which is the little plus eyedropper tool. And you can actually just click and drag, and on the lines that you are drawing, it's going to add that information to the area that it's going to pull from. Specifically, I know down here at the bottom, when the color is changing, we know that the sampling is changing. So we just want to go down and we want to pull from a few areas here. That way we can get all of the text that we want and we don't have to lose a lot. And there's also some cleaning up that we can do after this process, but as with anything, if you have good source material, if you have good initial selections, that's going to help you a lot in the long run. We're not going to be working destructively because we will be using a matte, but this at least gets us to a good start. If you want to do selection preview, we can do black matte, and it puts it on black. I don't think we're going to be putting it on black, but black at least gives us kind of a good idea. Adjust this fuzziness more or less depending on whatever fits best for your area. You know, if you go too low, it gets way too gross, but if you bring it up too much, then it also gets gross because it starts pulling from the paper. Welcome to the chat, Rob. Says, great idea for a series. Thanks. I'm hoping we can get some really cool stories out of people and some really cool experiences. We were talking earlier about my great-grandfather. I like to keep the range up to 100. And what we can do here is now we're just going to hit OK. Now, with that, you can see now it's all selected. So I'll go down to the matte area, and I hit Layer Mask to get the matte. It looks like it did nothing because I have a copy of it underneath. But as you can see here, we now have this area that is all selected out. I'm going to go through and just put an obnoxious color behind it so that we can see a little bit better what it pulled out. And what you can do is then hop back into the matte. I'm going to copy it just so that if we want to reference back later, we can, because I'm risk adverse. And you can see that over here, this is all of the text that we got from before that's on the other side. So all I'm going to do is select it, hold Alt, and press Delete. And that's going to be my foreground color. It's Control Z, and I think it's Alt Backspace. No, Alt Enter. I always do this. What I end up doing, I normally press X and then I just do it because I forget which one is actually for the background. But when I press Alt Delete, what it's doing is it's taking my foreground color and it is applying it into that area with a fill. There's also one for the background color, but I'll be honest right now, guys, I don't remember what it is, and I normally just end up hitting 1,000 things on my computer keyboard, and eventually I get it. But the easier thing to do is just to switch it out. So, Key says that they now can't see because of the crazy color. So I will make it easier for you guys, and I'll go back to black. That way we can just see a little bit better. And let's just take some time and we'll clean up a little bit. But have you guys ever written a letter to yourself? I remember, I think they gave us one to write to ourselves. I want to say in like first grade, and then we read it in fifth grade. But there's something definitely to be said about being able to talk to yourself and talk yourself up, and also just remind yourself to be nice, because the way that we think about our past is we actually think about our past and our future as different people. They did a study about it. And if you are trying to be better, like, remember that you are helping your future self. By the way, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, I am painting in white on the mat for areas where I need it to show up, and black where I want it to go away. And that's just the selection mat that is happening over in Photoshop. Now, I don't have a super hard brush, but I kind of want to change that because I want it to be a little bit more. The letters are vibrating, yes. I hope I fixed it for you guys so that it's not as crazy. So I'm just going to clean up some of these. I'm thinking on the business card that we create for her, it can just say that kind of last two areas, so we don't have to clean up the whole page. But let's just clean up some of the areas that we have here for... This is definitely not what it needs to be. And it's also good to have that context, too, of being able to zoom out and read the sentence and be able to see what it is. Yeah. Jess says, I do have letters like that. They're sitting in a box on my Billy shelf right behind me. Maybe they are watching this stream. Well, that's the thing. Like, do you have them backed up anywhere? And I'm not saying you need to necessarily put it on my stream. You are more than welcome to. I'd love to find a way to get those letters a new life for you. But at the same time, even without me in mind, I think it would be a good idea to just scan them or take a picture of them or something, because you never really know what's going to happen. You never know if there's going to be a fire, or maybe you lose them, or something gets ripped, or there's 1,000 with it. Maybe you have to move really quickly. Like, I'm thinking worst case scenarios here because I'm fueled by anxiety. But these are all things that you could really explore. Also, we were talking to Alli last night about how this handwriting looks so much like a girl who is writing it. Like, look at those R's. Like, look at that. Look at the like, not just a boop bop, but like a whole spin around as a reminder. The M's have such a vibe. Like, they're so intentional. The thing is, I don't want to clean up some of them. Like, I just cleaned up a part that I actually want to keep, because I like some of the smudges. I like the idea that you can see the hand was there. And, you know, there's beauty in part of the imperfection. Key says, I did not do letters, but I left notes to myself in books that I read. Yeah, this is not an endorsement of Amazon, but I am hoping during the Amazon Prime sales that I might get a Kindle that lets you, they have the new ones that are scribes that you can write in the margins. And I feel like that's such a big part of books. And so I need to be a better reader in general, but I feel like if I had a Kindle or an e-reader that was able to have writing, I think I'd be more likely to use it. Unicorn still has letters from her grandmother written, and that's really cool. Yeah, no. There's something just about having that handwriting. It tells a lot about a person. And Alli's handwriting obviously does not look like this anymore. So there's also a time capsule-ness to it, not only for the person themselves, but the time that they live. Okay. So we could go through and we could actually end up modifying all of that area. But instead, I am actually just going to take this, and I want to make that into a business card of sorts. We're going to go to File, New, RIP, and go to Print. And from there, there should be an area, business card. Is there not? What is the size of a business card? Can someone let me know? Hey, Logic Studios, what's up? Business card size is 3.5 by 2 inches. So 3.5 inches by 2 inches. We want it to be 300 pixels per inch because this is something that we ideally are going to, print out and have accessible. So I'm going to drag this over here. Oh, it's a lot tinier. So that's actually could work to our advantage. And I'm just going to, let's just scan it down, right? Like, make it tiny. Now, maybe there is some areas here that are not as pretty. Don't worry, guys. We're going to make sure that we fix that. Regarding the button confusion, my tip is to press X and D. One resets the swatches to default black and white. The other flips between. Yes, that's what I always do. I don't press D and press X, but I can never remember what gets me the background color for filling things in. FT Images says add a level adjustment, and it can help you refine the mask more quickly, adjusting black or dark levels. That's a really great tip. So let's actually try that out. So we can go up here, and the levels adjustment is right here. We'd be able to then get a better area for when we actually go in and when we actually grab the not only the colors from the color selection, but also if we want to go in and you can double click in, you can shift the edge, which I think is also kind of helpful sometimes. And then turning on like a smart radius, and you can adjust the radius. That'll also help with some of it. So I don't know why I'm doing that in the older document when we could be doing it in this document. But let's see what we can do. I'm going to copy this and move it down just so we have a backup of it in the event that we need it. And let's do a color overlay of this and see what it gets us. All right. See, so now we have this red here. And what we could do is I'm going to just start like doing destructive content here. Am I ready for that yet? Because part of me says that, yeah, maybe we should fix up this a little bit more. If we go and we... Ooh, calm it down, girl. Okay, we're going to do, sample all layers. We'll do similar. And all I did there was press Alt and then delete, which was to bring in a little bit of the area. But I want to actually feather that just so slightly. We'll feather it by like a 1. And I feel like that feels better. Let's go and bring it back over now. Let's catch up on chat here. Jack has Grandma's handwritten cookbook, and we also have a sewer backup with it in the basement. Narrowly escaped disaster. Oh, you had a sewer backup in the basement. Yeah, exactly. So that's why you got to digitize that stuff. I don't know if we're going to get time for it today since we've only got 15 minutes left, but we actually have one from... we also have a recipe card from Aaron, and his family has a whole recipe card situation, which is going to be part of the series as well. We have a suggestion from Rob, which is, have you considered a quick cleanup by using individual color channels? I did, because of the actual nature of where it's pulling from. You can take red or whatever, and select that, and that also can help. Then you go back and turn on all of our RGBs. Yeah, and that can help out a lot. Many different ways to do many different things in good old Photoshop. So, what we should do now is I'm going to make it smaller. It just like stresses me out because it's not a smart object. Maybe we should switch it to a smart object first. So that convert to a smart object, and then we can bring it down. Bring it down, and I don't know how big to make it. Because what this is like, I need to like pull out an actual thing so I can see it on my own size. I feel like this is like a normal size, so I feel like maybe that much is important. And I'm gonna just start copy and pasting stuff. So that it can be properly adjusted. Remember to have faith in yourself. I like the little underlined never. Also, she was, what, 13 here? I'm sure she has changed since 13. But also I'm wondering, like, maybe we put one thing on one side. Well, that's actually pretty standard right there. I think it's funny how she's like introspective about how you can learn things from yourself in the moment that she's writing it, but then at the same time she's also learning that she can learn from herself like 15 years later, which is pretty cool. And I also just like that we have her signature. I think that's really nice. So, okay. Your grandpa went through the at one point and wrote very good on the recipes he liked. So there's an idea. You should scan his very good handwriting, and you should then make a stamp out of it, and that way you have a stamp of his little handwriting saying very good, and then you guys can stamp it onto new recipes. See? Come up with new solutions. Okay. We're going to go... And also, we're going to be changing the color of this because it looks rough. I kind of like the idea of having a second artboard for the other side. And maybe the Isn't It Amazing What You Can Learn From Yourself from Alli would be on the other side of the business card. Because you're going to need two sides, right? So let's try to do that. And then, you know, she could always like put this in her wallet, and if she's ever feeling down, you know, which is a nice thing to have. And also, I have a tablet, so I can always go in here, and we could also manually touch things up, which I want to limit what I can do, because with that in mind, you know, like, I don't want to rewrite history too much. It's like that constant balance. Like, you know, when you, it's what's the old saying with the axe? It's like you replace the hammer, you replace the holder. At which point is it a restoration, and at what point have you like completely changed what it is? All right, so we're actually going to divide the amazing and what you can do here. Also, I think it's pretty straightforward as to what I am doing right now. But if you guys have any questions, while I am bopping around, please, by all means, please let me know. All right, so I'm going to press, I'm holding Control and Shift. That's how I'm selecting different things right now. And then I'm just going to go and make sure that they're all centered. I don't know why it's making things invisible. That's just a preview. That's a RAM thing, right? I think so. Let's see if I move it. Yes, okay. That's so weird. Why is it doing that? You never know. Robin Mine back in the early 1900s, before 1910, ended up Seattle, then moved to Chicago. What are you talking about, Barbara? Barbara's saying, oh, your grandfather was born outside of Kiev. Oh, cool. Has anyone converted their handwriting to a font? I know how to. And we could also do that on one. There's a process. Adobe doesn't have it straight up as like support. Like it's not like we wouldn't stay in Adobe programs the whole time. But I don't know why it's trying to hide things. But the last thing that I think that we should do here is definitely like fix some of these areas where it gets cut out. And I think the best way that we can also kind of bring life to this is just bring in a good like color here that feels a little bit more cohesive. I'm doing a color fill of a layer style and just adjusting it a little bit. What we can also do here is we could also come back and then drop a paper texture on top of it so it still feels authentic, but it makes it a little bit more kind. We could also do something like a, what would it be? Like a color burn? No, color burn's not the right move. This is also still how I fully approach creating layer mats. A hard light could work. Let's look at that. Yeah, that feels way more lively. So I'm going to just go and I'm going to copy that layer style. I'm going to select all the other layers that we have, and I'm going to paste the layer style onto everything. And then now that we have a layer style on there that is dictating the color of it, one last thing we're going to do is I'm going to go to my brushes, and we're going to go to a Kyle's Mega Pack. Let's go to our ink box, and let's go to ballpoint pen, which could be closer. And then we're just going to fill in some of these small areas so that they're not as chopped up. And since it has a color overlay, it's not going to get hurt by it. That looks all pretty good. I kind of like the circles in the middle there. Here. Yourself. Ooh. Yeah, this is where the reason why this is getting cut right here is because of the lined paper. So when it was trying to pull the pink out, it was like, that's not pink, that's blue. And that's actually just because. Now, this is a tough one because do we want to do this full thing? I don't know. There we go. I want to fix this Y a little bit. Oops, what's this here? Get rid of that Y. That Y bug. She's doing some crazy thing with this Y, though. I will say that. Oops. And this E. Bring it down like that. Oop, maybe this E as well. And then we'll quickly do this because I know we're getting close on time here. I just want to make sure that we have something that we can provide at the end of it. Once again, if you're just joining us, we are bringing life to a letter that Alli wrote to herself when she was young, and we're creating a fun business card that she can put in her wallet for whenever she's feeling down and wants to read these words in her own handwriting. Just to stay happy. Of course, you could always like take the time if you really wanted to fully like vectorize this, but I think that there's something to be said about it being rasterized. I'm gonna get rid of some of these guys. I'm also gonna get rid of this eye. I don't know if this is part of hers. She got just sloppy with that eye, or like criticizing a 12-year-old. Just nice and clean. Remember, have faith in yourself. Never change. Isn't it amazing what you can learn from yourself? And I'm thinking maybe we can like add. Oh wait, should we? One last thing. Should we take the date? It's the last thing we can do real quick. I'm just gonna copy and paste this. And in hyper mode, we are gonna go and we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna go to select, color range, clickety clack. How about that? Oh, this would actually be a time where grabbing that levels trick would probably be pretty good, but we could put it up here maybe. I'm going to copy this layer style, paste that layer style. I like the smudge on it. Sometimes if it's like harder to read, I can like duplicate it and then it kind of becomes more intense. And I think that is a nice way to bring life to an old thing. The one last thing we could do, like I was saying, we could make a paper texture pop up. And I'm just going to quickly go to Unsplash because it's really not important what texture it is. I say that and then I immediately am like picky about which one I'm going to pick out. For just a grainy paper texture. This looks a good grainy paper texture. And an easy thing we can do is we can group everything together. I'm going to paste this paper texture on top. And you can either put it over top of the entire thing if we wanted, or you can just put it over the text itself. What if we just put it over top of the entire thing, though? I feel like that might be good. Because that'll add it straight up to the whole thing. And that'll make it feel cohesive. So we'll go, and what if we do, I feel like no, darken. This is really up to you. Darker color is a pretty good one, but I don't know if it applies it to the text. No, it doesn't. So we want to make sure it applies it to the text, whatever it is. So maybe multiply is the best, and then we just bring it way, way down. Something like that. And we want to duplicate it and do the same exact thing on our other artboard here. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that was a great first episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We will be back again at the same time next week. Bruce says, do you think you can use Adobe Capture with any of these ideas and digitizing things? That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we will actually check that out. And then maybe doing Adobe Scan as well. But next week we have more. I would love to continue to, and it's not always gonna be pulling stuff out. I also want to like also redesign things and incorporate like text into those redesigns. So by all means, please get in contact with me if you want anything digitized or reimagined. I love your feedback and your opinions. And thank you for tuning in. I will see you all next week, same time, same place. My name is Ryan Selvy. You can find me on Instagram and on Blue Sky. I'm ryanselvy.com. And I will see you all real soon. Thanks again. Bye.